Hi witchy people, I am back again because I have got my pages and my ribbons into my book. Obviously there's nothing on the pages yet, they are just blank, but I'm really pleased with how the ribbons turned out. As you can see, they're just, let's get some light on there we go, you can see those ribbons there, sort of. There, you can see the ribbons there, 5 ribbons. And they are just, the eyelets were put in, and then the ribbons are doubled, and just, I'll show you, it's easier to show you. So the ribbons, they're folded through double and then just put through their own loop, if you get what I mean. Oh, dear, oh dear, oh dear. And as you can see, just through this, they're going to be really tight. So they're just put through the loop here, put through the eyelet at the back here, and then I thread it through the loop that I've made and pull it tight. And as I've said in my crafty videos, I'm probably teaching my grandmother to suck eggs here, but there we go. And then they will lay in between. So once again, the pages will have things stuck to them, and for now they are blank. Now this, I just love how it opens up and lays flat, it's brilliant. I didn't use my 100 and, I think it was 120 GSM paper in the end. I used 70 GSM, so it's a really lightweight copy paper. It's folded at the end here, so it's folded over, and in between that fold there's a bit of Tyvek in there, which is like a, you can buy it in envelope form, it's probably the easiest to do, and that's glued in. The pages have been tea stained, and I thought I'd quickly tell you how I did that. I actually had a cup of black tea with a tea bag in it, and I took the tea bag out and I just rubbed the edges where I wanted the tea stain to be. This way you can get a much darker colour. It's much more uneven than if you have it in a tray and you drip it in, you know, sort of like put the whole thing in, and it's easier because it dries quicker. If you want it to be, see, this isn't too wrinkled. Now here's the difference. Now here's a page that's been naturally dried and just left to dry. You can see it's quite flat, and here's a page that's been force dried. You can see it's quite crinkly, and by force dried I mean, see, these have been force dried. I've gone round, you can use a hairdryer, I used a heat gun, and I like to use a heat gun because if there's any bits or pieces that I am not too happy with on the edges, let's see if I can find a bit, there are loads. You can see here, that's burnt. I burnt it with the heat gun, and the more dry the paper is, the quicker this takes when you burn it. So there's another burn here, and I just like that, it ages the papers. There's another burn here. If you're using Tyvek, please be careful, because although Tyvek is, you can't pull it apart, you know, you can't rip it, it will melt with a heat gun, it will melt, so be warned with that. I think that's all there was. Oh, when the tea bags split and the tea leaves started falling out, I carried on using them, and that's how I got this sort of like almost sandy effect. That's tea leaves. I mean, in a way I wished I'd used coffee, because then it would all smell of coffee, and I love the smell of coffee, but it's tea, and tea's fine. And every now and then you just pounce the tea bag on, and yeah, it may not lay as flat when the papers are in, I don't know, we'll have to see. So yeah, I'm really pleased so far. It's coming along nicely, and I think I said in my last video, I'm not going to start filling it up. I'm going to re-edit everything I've ever done. I'm going to rewrite it out, and it's all going to go, obviously not this thick because I can't really change a poem that I've done, but it's all going to go down for NaNoWriMo. And I put the link to NaNoWriMo, and I did get it wrong when I said it. It's National Novel Writing Month, not National November Writing Month. It's National Novel Writing Month, and it's usually held in November. But on the previous video, there is a link to that. And it's just going to be so amazing when it's done. I mean, I wanted it to look, obviously I wanted it to be aesthetically pleasing to me. I didn't want it to look too cosplay, I suppose, though it may end up looking like that. But it had to be aesthetically pleasing. Obviously, this is not a working book. It's not a workbook. It is a reference book. I think my workbook is basically a spiral bound notebook, which is full of scribbles and all sorts. And I don't just use it for a grimoire, if you like. I use it for all my crafting stuff. If I need to know the size of a page that I'm going to cut out, it all goes in my book. That's actually got a tea stain on it there, where I was, when you do the tea, I use a little cup. Oh, and do use gloves when you're using it, because it will dye your hands really, really badly, the tea will. Yeah, I was quite messy and I splashed it everywhere, but I like that as well. I like that it's not pristine. So there we go, an update on how my grimoire, my book, is coming along. And hopefully by the end of November this will be quite, I do have a lot of like pages printed out ready. Obviously you saw the pagan musings that I was going to put in. That can't be part of my NaNoWriMo count because that's written by somebody else. I can go through this. So I do have, I said once before, I don't know how to use Photoshop and things like that. So what I tend to do is find a background I like, print it out, and then reprint the page on top of it. I could use parchment paper, but I wanted a really thin paper, and I wanted to use what I already had, and I wanted it to be cheap. So these are just some of the, this is the parchment paper, this is a floral, old floral background, tea stain background, and you can see this tea stain technique is very similar to mine because you can see the marks left by the tea bag. That's the, some of them go face one way and some of them face the other way. Yeah, that one faces the other way, as you can see. And I've got a very similar one to that in brown, more parchment paper. This, I can't remember where I got this from. Is it the Magic Cauldron? It was from Etsy, and I printed out so that I could have, I reversed it so that I could have them facing each way, because I love crows and ravens, anything of the corvid family. I absolutely love. So that's why that's there. Then there was this one, which I also did, printing out in both directions. This is the one that's very similar to the other one, but this is a different colour. It's more brown than. See, this one's very grey. This one's more brown. It's got a slightly different background. This is more mottled, and this is like got a cracked effect. And they go in both directions. This I'm going to be using a lot in the book. And then there's this, which I actually quite liked. It's got a bow and arrow here. It's got an axe here, a lance, and there's some oars here, and it's an old book page. I think I found it on Pinterest. Of course, if you do like things like this, another good place to go is the Graphics Fairy. But I quite like this, apart from the fact that I think it's got a cricket ball or something on there. But it's got lots of weaponry on there and stuff like that, and I thought that that's a good thing for tools and, you know, but we'll see. And I do tend to print things off in bulk so that they're there handy and I can carry on. So when I'm ready, I can just print them all out and it'll be done. So there we go. That's how I did my tea stain pages. That's how the book is coming along. And I am now going to go and see if I can find some pagan connections. Friends, that is, nothing else. I've got to say this was so funny. I was actually going through my old website because a lot of the information I had that I didn't mind sharing was on my website. And it was things like correspondences and old folk names for herbs and stuff like that. It's like when you see in these old things like, you know, Eye of Newt and Tongue of Toad and all the rest of it, they're actually things that correspond to the old folk names of flowers. So there is like an Eye of Newt is whatever flower or represents a newt. A lot of them do represent a lot of toads and stuff, and it's the center of the flower. The tongue would be the leaf, the foot would be the root. So and this is where a lot of these things come from, that where people say, you know, sort of like hubble bubble, toil and trouble, which is obviously a Shakespeare thing. Anyway, yes, as I was going through my old website, I thought, why is there a disclaimer there that's been added onto? And apart from the whole disclaimer of bloodletting and stuff like that, when consecrating tools, and whether I agreed with it or not, and whether I would do it myself or not, there was a whole thing on there like, if you use the search engine on this site, I get a report. And I did. It was an old GeoCities site, and you had a search engine on there and you'd get a report, either a weekly or a monthly report of what had been searched for. And I think until I put the disclaimer up and let people know that I could see what was being searched for, about 85% of the searches were for words like naked, among other things. I think the term is skyclad, and I do believe that's very much a Wiccan term as well. I have never gone skyclad, not outside. It's just not my thing. I'm sorry. I live in England. It's darn cold. And I'm not going to be caught in my Sunday best by some farmer in the corner of a field somewhere. So no, not my thing. Not in my path, not the way I do things at all. But I just thought that was hilariously funny, and I thought I'd share that with you, just because, you know, I like to ramble on. So that's my vlog for today. I love that word, vlog. I think I love any words beginning with V, like violin, violetta, virago. That's one of my favourite ones, virago, which is quite funny because my husband used to have a virago motorbike, but virago I think means a tempestuous woman. Anyway, that is what I've done today. I've just finished that up, and yeah, I am really pleased with it. I think it's going to look, obviously this is going to be quite tight when it's finished, because this, you won't be able to squash these down, these pages. They're going to be quite full, and I have to have, because I'm going to have another page stuck each side of one of these leaves, I need to know that I can fit 3 times this, so this twice again, and I can in here. There's going to be enough room. So there we go. It's coming along beautifully, and I'm really, really pleased with it. I love the way the ribbons are coming out. I love the binding here. Everything. I just, yeah. And I think it doesn't look too... You could use it for almost anything. I mean, I was going to put all my poetry in it, because I do write a lot of poetry. But no, you could have it out and it could be almost anything. Oh, and I'm getting my altar is getting set up beautifully. It's not actually set up yet, but I've cleaned out the box, and I'm finding a lot more things up in the attic. I found some of my crystals, and so I'm getting really pleased. I haven't got my altar cloth. I don't know what I've done with it, so I've had to order a new one, and I couldn't find one I liked. Oh, excuse me. So I may end up sewing something, and trust me, I do not sew. I am not a seamstress, so this could be messy. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy looking through my book and seeing how it's coming along. And like I said, you can go on to my other channel, which is linked in, I think it's Witchy Ramblings 1, and you can see how I actually made the basics of this, how I made the cover and put it together, and the measurements that I used and what I used. So there you go. Bye bye for now, witchy people, and don't forget, have fun.